Now, opponents have filed a lawsuit to block the project. They allege that county officials violated open meeting laws, making the project's approval void. They also argue the Planning Commission didn't properly vet the backers of the mosque, who they contend may have ties to terrorist sympathizers. At hearing today, one witness accused the mosque leaders, including the imam, of being supporters of Sharia law. That witness was Frank Gaffney, president of Center for Security Policy. He joins me now, along with Akbar Ahmed, chair of Islamic Studies at American University and former Pakistani ambassador to the United Kingdom. Mr. Gaffney, let me start with you. You testified today in court that there are what you called red flags from a security point of view regarding the mosque. What are those red flags?
Well, several were introduced into evidence during the court proceedings that speak to this issue that you've touched on, which is that the imam and others who are involved in the board of the mosque are proponents of Sharia, this totalitarian program, political, military, legal program that is absolutely at odds with the Constitution of the United States. In fact, has as its purpose supplanting it. And that kind of seditious activity is, I believe, a red flag that ought to preclude it from being allowed to operate in Murfreesboro or, for that matter, any other community in the United States.
But the idea that, I mean, this is an imam, these people have lived, for the most part, in this community for many, many years. They've practiced in this community for decades without any problems. And, I mean, how are they trying to take over the United States from Murfreesboro, Tennessee?
Well, I don't think I suggested that they're trying to take it over from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I'm suggesting that in places like Murfreesboro, Tennessee, they are promoting a program that is at odds with our freedoms, our form of government, our Constitution, and to the extent, as we've seen in Europe, for example, that this kind of agenda follows the trajectory that it has elsewhere around the world, it ultimately winds up becoming a cancer inside society. No-go zones are typically associated with it, where the authorities dare not go. Sharia law is practiced in those no-go zones. They are expanded in due course. And ultimately, you have the groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, with whom many of these mosques and, for that matter, Muslim American organizations of any note are associated, pursuing a mission that we know from evidence introduced into another federal trial is to destroy Western civilization from within. And that's what's really worrying.
Ambassador Ahmed, what do you make of what Mr. Gaffney is alleging?
Well, I think that there is an atmosphere and a cloud of distrust and fear hanging over the Muslim community, and I'm concerned about this. In fact, we have this particular mosque. Last year I went with my team to Columbia in Tennessee also, where the mosque had been firebombed. So it isn't just an isolated case, and that is why I applaud Abe Foxman and the ADL, who have come out with a committee exclusively to defend and protect mosques throughout the United States of America, and I'm privileged to be a member of that committee.
Do you believe this mosque in Murfreesboro is it wants to institute Sharia law in the United States?
Anderson, I want you to ask yourself this question. I'm sure your mathematics is better than mine. If every Muslim in the United States of America, which is about 2% of the population, wanted Sharia, which is not the case at all, even if they wanted it, could they impose it over a population of 98% who are not Muslim in a democracy? In my country, where I come from, Pakistan, 98% of the population is Muslim. There is no Sharia law. I have been a commissioner in charge of large parts of the country. Our laws are criminal and civil procedure codes derived from British colonial law, which go to Westminster, which in turn has influenced the US Constitution. So the notion of Sharia being implemented in America with about 2% of the population, to me, is mathematically absurd.
Mr. Gaffney, what about that? I mean,
well, I don't think he answered your question. What is, of course, the case is that today the numbers of Muslims in America, and indeed the numbers of Muslims in America that are promoting Sharia, are very small, blessedly. This is the time to stop them from trying to move this country in a direction that we dare not have it go. If we in fact
But what evidence do you have that the folks in Murfreesboro
our system of government
are part of this plot linked to the Muslim Brotherhood? I mean, it seems...
I suggested that some of the evidence was introduced in the trial. We have an imam who was trained in Al-Azhar, the central academic institution of Sharia in the world. We have members of the mosque board who promote Hamas in demonstrations and through their public statements. We have people associated with the mosque who I think make no bones about their preference for Sharia. In fact, that is what the authorities of Islam say they are supposed to do. And this is the problem. Just a second. This is the problem. What Sharia commands is jihad. And in Pakistan, as elsewhere, we see that it's taking the form of the violent kind of jihad, and indeed Sharia law is being encroached into the Pakistani system and indeed other systems around the world. But there's also the stealth jihad, and Anderson, this is the real problem with places like this mosque in Murfreesboro. You have stealth jihadists at work trying to advance this agenda.
But the FBI investigated
and most of our government is ignoring it. That's really outrageous.
The FBI apparently investigated the board member you're talking about, who there were some comments made on his MySpace page. No charges were ever brought. And Ambassador Ahmed, just because the imam went to this university in Egypt, should that be a red flag?
Of course not, Anderson. Al-Azhar is the oldest university in the Muslim world. It's 1,000 years old. It's expected to teach Islamic jurisprudence. It'll be illogical if it doesn't. I went to a Catholic school in North Pakistan. Does this mean that I owe allegiance to the Pope? It's absurd. Any university in the Muslim world, any university in the Catholic world would teach its own laws, the laws of that particular religion. If this imam has violated the laws of America, can I please finish? If the imam has violated the laws of the land, if he's a threat to the security of the land, the authorities should act. But unless we know whether he in fact has been promoting, and I'm not even sure what this concept means, promoting the Sharia. Sharia is an abstract, it's a discipline. It's like saying promoting history or promoting biology or mathematics. What does promoting Sharia mean? When I pointed out that the total population here is about 2% of the country, how can this tiny percentage impose the Sharia on 98% of the population?
Unfortunately, we got to go.
Anderson, the answer is contained in this report, ShariaTheThreat.com.
Or read my book, Journey into America, The Challenge of Islam.
You'll get disinformed, as you've just been by the ambassador right now.
Yes, and by Mr. Gaffney and his scholarship.
No, it's all in the facts.
I appreciate both of your perspectives, Ambassador Akbar Ahmed, Frank Gaffney as well. Thank you.